That run game was really terrible yesterday.
They couldn't
It
get
let
anything
him.
going. They couldn't
He's
get
the
anything.
leading rusher again.
Yep.
Again.
They couldn't get anything going with Singletary or Hines. Really, there was just nothing to be hit, nothing to be had, and there
Six
wasn't
for 24.
and there wasn't anything particularly interesting about the calls to try and do it.
I know James Cook had a touchdown, but he even but didn't no he did he?
No,
James?
no, no,
No, he didn't
he
actually.
didn't. No rushing touchdowns. I don't believe it. Beside or I'll have to double check because Cook definitely did not.
Okay, then
But
I'm mistaken. Either way, he was like 5 for 13, something like that. It just they can't run the ball.
yeah,
And
they
this
only
is
had
an
one
issue.
touchdown. It was just Josh Allen. There was only one touchdown.
Right. It was
Yeah.
the 10 points. It's getting ridiculous at this point in Buffalo. Why can they not figure out a way to run the ball? And it's because the team is built way too much on Josh Allen
Yep.
and Josh Allen doing everything. And so like people that are and he's been injured. The elbow injury has lingered, right? And it's caused him to make some mistakes. But the reason that they're unable to overcome those mistakes is because they have no plan B except Josh Allen drop back and go to town, go off, right? Uh, like throw a bomb downfield, that kind of deal. It's just, I really do wish that that the Bills were a little bit more, I don't know, creative in the way that they're going to set up their team. It's just, it's unfair to him, and there's going to be two narratives coming out of this weekend about quarterbacks. It's going to be, is Dak the guy? And we'll get into that. But it's also going to be criticism of Josh Allen. I just think it's completely unwarranted. It's also aided and abetted by the fact that Stephon Diggs, who I think is really cool and funny and smart, and I seem to like, based on what I see of him in interviews, he's a fun player and I root for him. But yet again, he was throwing a tantrum essentially, and he left the locker room right as soon as the game was over.
Yeah, it was clear he was frustrated about something when it came to Allen, or at least the offensive game plan. And it
And
didn't even
receivers do that,
it
right?
didn't particularly
No,
even
but
seem like Allen was responding, which I also wonder if that's probably why he was frustrated. Is that it seemed like maybe Allen seemed a little bit cowed or like kind of resigned to what the outcome of this game might be. So I understand, but I think what it goes to show is that this Diggs is fantastic. Allen is fantastic, but it's only two players. And
Yes, that's it.
We can go through it a little bit in terms of when you look at, as you were saying, with we talking about the run game, but also Gabe Davis is supposed to be an X-style deep threat, as he has been in the playoffs before. But the issue here was, one, he did not replicate that explosive game that he had against the Chiefs last year, and two, he had a massive, super consequential drop that could have changed this game if he caught it. A super long, beautiful Allen pass that he dropped right before the end zone. If you're supposed to be the number two option, and in the sense that, let's compare it, if you're supposed to be basically Buffalo's version of a T. Higgins, Buffalo's version of a Devontae Smith, Buffalo's version of a Debo Samuel or George Kittle, that's not acceptable.
yeah.
If you have that, and I know it's silly and anecdotal, but if people refer to you as Big Game Gabe or something like that, you have to actually live up to that.
Yeah,
you can't be either below average or one-dimensional type player who's not actually delivering
But that's
results
who
in
he
big
is.
moments.
That's who he is.
And then the same thing applies to Isaiah McKenzie, Khalil Shakir, Dawson Knox. All of these guys serve roles and do the
Knox had a good game,
and do what
but
they do
yeah.
pretty well. But it's all this is to say is it's not enough of an infrastructure to satisfy or to complement the excessive usage that Josh Allen gets as a result.
Yeah.
And we saw that very plainly yesterday. That they could only muster up 10 points of offense, and then their defense couldn't hold up at the end on the other end as a result either.
I'm just frustrated on his behalf, and I want them to win the Super Bowl. But it's not going to happen unless they really get serious about getting playmakers on that team. Difference makers. Guys that are going to change and take some pressure off of Josh Allen.
And specifically,
change the game, I should say.
and with that, like, I think in terms of like how we look at that, it's truly people who can generate explosive plays, people who can generate game-breaking plays.
Yeah.
Stuff that changes the math, stuff that changes the calculations from the other team. It doesn't seem as if that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, Diggs is the man, but he's not like a physical freak in the same way that a Jamar Chase or an AJ Brown is, for
Or
example.
Justin Jefferson, for
That
example.
too. Yeah.
He's
It's
not one of those guys where the entire defense will form their game plan around him.
exactly.
They can divert resources to other players to make it even harder for Josh Allen to get the ball out of his hands.
He's like a high-end New England style receiver where he's
Absolutely.
smart, he's going to do everything right.
Great
He's
route runner.
great route runner. But I'm always going to side on more on the physical freak guy because you can teach that to an extent. And I just don't think Allen is as not Allen, but Diggs is as physically talented as some of the other high-end wide receivers in the NFL.
And exactly. And I think so. I think the big thoughts and thought processes for the Bills going into this offseason will be how can we get more explosive on offense and how can we just simply if once Von Miller's healthy, if he's going to come back to Buffalo, once Micah Hyde's healthy, once they get all of that in order in terms of the health on their defense, can we add more depth to not feel so stretched thin on the in the front seven and in the secondary?
And they need to see if Ken Dorsey is the answer at
And that's
offensive coordinator.
another question too.
Yeah.
And because one thing that I feel like I was seeing from Sean McDermott and from Ken Dorsey on the offensive perspective was a conservatism that was not benefiting them, especially when you have Josh Allen.
Yeah.
You got with this game getting out of hand, you have to throw the kitchen sink at everything and not think that we need to basically play to get an inch further or to tie the game. You were 2 scores down.
Yeah.
Almost 3. Like you got, and you got it has to be
Gotta push the
more.
issue.
It has to be more urgent than that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.